Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Just say GM in the chat if you can hear us. Testing, testing. Natal. All right, cool. Well, good afternoon, good morning. Thanks all for joining for the August community call. Today we've set a theme of getting back to growth. So you will have seen that there's lots of exciting news announcement coming out of Maple over the past month. So today we're going to share all of that good news with you. But focus it on changes that we've been making to the platform and what we've been working on internally. Some big announcements regarding the growth of many of the pools on Maple, and then also looking to some new product features that we've shipped over the past month, because we build in a bear and we build in a bull. So as usual, me, Sid and Joe will take you through. I think last month we were at ETHCC, and so I've been following up from lots of conversations and actions from our time spent over in Paris. And yeah, we've just been really busy. So excited to share all of these big and small wins with you. And I'm going to throw to Sid to open us up for the day. So over to you, Sid.
Awesome. Thanks, Charlotte. And yeah, as we step through the deck, so it was a pretty big month for us in the scheme of things, and I think really marked a shift in momentum back towards positivity and back towards growth. So Maple issued 100 million in loans in the past month, and that took our grand total since inception back in May of 2021. So touch over 12 months to 1.65 billion, which is a huge result. But I think more than anything, it talks to sentiment in the space starting to shift. And for us, this was a huge win in terms of getting back towards net growth, with lending starting again. Certainly, the level of withdrawals dropped dramatically as well. And you can see in these other stats that we've cited here. So, Maple now has 60% of market share across institutional DeFi lending protocols. So we're not talking the over-collateralized ones, but we're talking about the ones that specifically target institutions. And we're now the largest institutional DeFi lender on Solana, which is a great result, especially when you put in perspective that we only launched on Solana at the end of April. So we see a few new faces coming to the platform now with the recent launch of the $40 million Maven pool. So we saw Credo participate in that pool for the first time. They are a fantastic partner, offering decentralized multi-party custody solution. And so we saw that being used for the first time with this new pool that was launched. We also saw Flow Traders participating as one of the borrowers, so they're publicly listed. So it's a great result to see the users of on-chain lending and borrowing expand to include publicly listed companies now. And then we had a huge deposit, which was the largest DAO participation yet from the Nexus Mutual DAO and community. So it was fantastic to see that go through the governance process being shepherded by Maven, and then that culminated in a deposit to the Wrapped ETH pool of $30 million, which has been lent out to some of the market makers in that pool and continues to be deployed by Maven. So again, contributing to new lending volume. We've also seen that lenders are upsizing. So we had a number of repeat partners come through and lend in the new Maven pool. And so again, that just shows people's appetite is starting to shift. And I think the way that Maple weathered the storm over May, June, and July, was really reflected in the trust that lenders have in the platform and their willingness to come back and participate. So, huge result there. Big congratulations to the Maven team, and very excited to welcome on board new partners, Nexus, with their 15K ETH deposit for DAO treasury management. I think next I'll pass over to Joseph.
Joseph, geez, don't call me that. All right. So only my mother calls me Joseph. All right. So from where we were at the start of the crash, obviously the commercial side of the business had a lot of fires to deal with, a lot of turmoil to deal with throughout that process. But we were able to maintain a lot of focus on the product and engineering side of the business to continue building and executing on our roadmap. And so even though we're kind of going through a bear market, the markets are in turmoil, the focus on the product and what we're building for the longer term has maintained. And so what that looks like and the way that we try and operate that across the entire business is by using OKRs. And so the two main objectives that we set out at the start of the year as a team at our offsite in Miami was, and they are, establish Maple as the dominant institutional capital network for crypto and develop the most robust, versatile, and intuitive decentralized lending infrastructure. And so those two main objectives, or North Stars, are what then guides the roadmap that we put in place from a product and commercial perspective. And so the big update that the team's been working on for a significant period of time now and is now starting to come to fruition is Maple 2.0. So we're about to commence our first audit of the smart contract upgrades that we'll be going through on the Ethereum side next week, and then aim for a release throughout Q4, probably in the middle to end of Q4 is when we will have gone through another audit process. Then that will also include a web app overhaul and other new feature updates. That'll include improvements to the withdrawal process, improvements to cover, and a lot of the learnings that we took out of the recent market downturn. From a commercial perspective, we, as we've alluded to in more recent community calls, are focused on differentiating our borrower set and the users on the whole Maple platform. And so what that looks like is that we'll be looking to launch a Bitcoin mining focus pool and then looking to move into other borrower verticals from there. So fintech and SaaS companies, Web3 infrastructure are some of the ideas that will be coming throughout Q4. And what that enables and where the focus is on attracting more and more lending capital and also removing that alignment directly to crypto markets. And so what we can look to do is bring on more and more reputable pool delegates that have knowledge in these more diversified industries or outside of crypto industries that have their own capital networks that they can bring to the platform. And so it enables that scalability of Maple and at the lending infrastructure that we've built. And then finally on the operations side, so we did a deep dive post the market crash to take into account any learnings that we could have or things that we could have done better on reflection. And so one of the big things there is we made some improvements to the master lending agreements that we have in place with borrowers that increases the amount of reporting requirements on them and tweaks some other terms on things that we would like to have moving forward into the future for the way that we can enforce on borrowers. Then we've also improved our onboarding processes, so making that a much smoother process for new MAPEs that are joining the team, as well as onboarding processes for lenders, borrowers, pool delegates going through KYC and other processes that are managed by ops. Then if we move on to the next slide. So one of the things that we've continued to do throughout the crash is continue hiring. And so whilst we take a very prudent approach to the way we manage our cash balances, so we did a recutting of the budgets across the business, given the drastic change in market conditions, and then looked at our hiring roadmap, scaled that back a little bit, and prioritized the roles that we think are the most important over the course of the next 6 months to the end of the year. And so there is a big focus on the commercial side of the business. We currently have 2 roles going in, one for a capital markets role and one for a business development role that are really going to be focused on bringing new users to the Maple platform, specific focus on bringing lending capital to the Maple platform, as well as then cultivating those existing relationships that we have. On the marketing side, we're going to be looking to bring on a communications lead. And so that'll be like the editorial function of the business in that they're able to assist a lot with the way that we're going out with our messaging and cultivating the different types of users that we have on the platform. So whether they be a more TradFi audience or more crypto native audience, that we've got communications that can resonate with both. And then finally, looking to build out more of the operations function. We'll be hiring for a finance and ops manager to be more internally focused on things that we can be doing to improve efficiencies, the way that we do our financial reporting, and other things of that ilk.
Love it. And so we're growing the team, we've been shipping products, and we're also expanding our network. So we've had a pretty quiet August out of the conference circuit. So we've been doing lots of the internal work, but the conference cycle is back. So me, Joe, Sid, Claire, Quinn, Corey, and a bunch of others are all going to be heading to New York for pretty much the month of September. Which is really, really exciting. Sid's going to be on stage, and we'll be hosting friends, old and new, at pancake parties, because thankfully the pancake budget hasn't been cut, because that would be an absolute travesty. But yes, so we'll be attending New York. Going to head to SALT, which is a smaller one-day conference, and then into DAS and Mazari. Sid will be taking the stage, won't you, Sid? So you'll be on stage with Rebecca from Aave and Josh at Genesis, and we're going to have a booth for the first time, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting. So we'll be speaking on a panel at DAS. This will be talking about institutional lending on chain. And then we'll also be speaking at Messari Mainnet as well. So it's going to be a pretty packed September. And then this is going to the month will then round out with again an appearance at Converge, which is going to be Circle's first conference at the end of the month in San Francisco. And then we'll also be sending Joe to Asian Blockchain Week in Singapore. So that'll include Token 2049. And the digital asset week there, which will be the first time that we've stepped up and done some of the APAC conferences. So that's going to be super exciting too. So one of the things it's worth asking about is if anyone is going to be at Token 2049 in Singapore, we would love to meet. So anyone who's in our ecosystem as either a borrower or potential lender, do reach out, and we'll try and line that up.
Amazing. Yeah, that'd be really awesome if you're in town in Singapore during that time. Joe and the Maven 11 guys will be over there, so hit us up. All right, so that's what we've been doing and growing the protocol. How about growing the product, Joe? Do you want to take the community through what we've been grinding on and shipping this month?
Let's do it. Yeah, so I alluded to kind of the things that we've been working on and that are coming on the roadmap, but we have also been releasing product throughout this period of time. So Open Term Loans was released to the Solana blockchain last week and will be live on the web app, if not tomorrow, on Monday. And so what that is that it's the first time that we've done Open Term Loans across either of the blockchains. And is a differentiating feature for Maple Solana. And so what it enables is that rather than the fixed term loan nature that we've been successful with to date, it's enabling borrowers and pool delegates to enter into an open term facility that has no real end date and enable either the pool delegate or the borrower at any point in time to call back the loan. And so what that enables is for the pool delegate more flexibility in managing their liquidity needs, and for the borrower more flexibility on when they do and don't need capital. And so that is the predominant version of or type of lending that exists in CeFi. And so we think that for the pool delegates on the Solana side, Genesis obviously being one of those, we think it's a great product offering for them and fits into their existing business model. On the Maple Ethereum side, so in the middle of the crash, we released what we call internally Loans V3, which included a number of updates to the way that loans can work on the platform. So the first and most important was refinancing capability. So previously, given that they're all fixed term loans, borrowers would have to come to the platform, pay back the full principal of a loan, and then draw down a new loan. Now we're able to roll that from one loan into the next and just move the interest payments from one loan to the next, rather than the borrower having to repay the principal. So that for a market maker, very important, they'd have to go and close out all their positions, repay the principal, take it down, and then take out a new loan and reform those positions. Now they don't have to do any of that, and it's much more efficient. Then we also move the establishment fee, and so the way that Maple generates revenue from being an upfront fee borne by the borrower at the time of loan origination to it being a more recurring and sustainable model for us. And so what that looks like is that with each interest payment, a borrower makes a portion of that establishment fee payment rather than it all up front. And so you would have seen throughout the crash, when we weren't originating new loans, Maple's revenue goes to zero. Whereas now with this functionality, we will have a loan portfolio that continues to grow. And with each repayment cycle that comes from a borrower, we have this revenue coming through constantly. And so it reflects much more of a platform fee and resonates with a SaaS style business.
Good stuff. So keep dropping your questions in the chat or in the ask a question section. Keep making pancake jokes. I would love to see Sid in a pancake mascot outfit, both on stage and at the booth. So we can chat about that after, Sid. So we've covered, pancake tie. There's budget for that, so I'll get that organised and added to the merch store in quick time. So platform updates we've covered, product updates we've covered. But I guess where everybody's been seeing the big shifts is on the pools. So we'll take this opportunity now to put a spotlight on some of the major pool performances in each of the pools over the course of the month. This is just a summary slide, and then we'll get into some more nitty gritty. But maybe you can take this one, Sid.
Yeah, sure. So, state of the Pancake Nation during the month of August, I think, was back to lending. So this was a huge theme for us, and we really we came into the month wanting to shift momentum. We'd seen enhanced withdrawals. People were pretty glum about the prospects of lending and the space in general, and so we really wanted to shift the narrative there. And the best way to do that was to get back to growth. And so a couple of ways that this happened, and we'll go into a spotlight in a second. But we had the new Maven permissioned pool launch. So this was started with 40 million of deposits. It will definitely grow from here. But a couple of things to note. So it started with a higher APY, and this was a function of limited liquidity in the space. So this meant that lenders were getting 10% plus net of fees, and that was just because with the dramatic pullback in the supply of lenders, with a lot of them having exited the market, there was less lending available for the regular market makers and market neutral funds. So Maven was able to step in and fill the void there, and thus command higher pricing. We also saw appetite for new borrowers. So we saw flow come in, which I'll talk to in a minute in a bit more detail. But we've also seen over the course of this month Orthogonal get back to lending. So really exciting there. They have brought on new people, or rather grown the bench there with the addition of new full-time resources. They also originated their first loan in a few months, and they have just, Charlotte will be excited about, set up a new Twitter account. And then we had Credora also performed really, really well through the period of volatility, and has continued to lend right throughout the period. So super excited about that. And they have taken up to 84 million in loans since they started just under 3 months ago. So let's move on and talk about the Maven pool in Spotlight. So what did we try and do differently here with Maven's new permission pool? So this is the third pool that Maven's launched on the platform. This one was differentiated from the other USDC pool by the fact that it was permissioned, and this really reflected the level of appetite that we'd seen for another permissioned offering from some of the institutions that Maven has as clients. So you can see some of the names there: Accrue, Gadzi, Credo, who is also providing the MPC wallet solution, decentralized MPC wallet solution, I should say, with which this pool is being governed by the pool delegates. That's a really exciting technology advancement. And then we saw this pool wanted to focus on we called it the Champions League borrowers, but you can see we've got Winterbutte, Oros, and Flow Traders. So these are larger market makers, and very excited to welcome Flow Traders to the platform, being that they are a publicly traded market maker. So this marks really a step up in terms of the level of usage of DeFi or on-chain lending solutions, and continues to show the expansion and the attractiveness of managing borrowing and lending on chain. So very happy about that. I already mentioned the APY being that it was higher because of the market pullback there, and so this does represent one of the more interesting and sustainable yield opportunities for institutions that are sitting on stables and looking to deploy those for a yield. And then, of course, we saw that Credora was being used for the risk monitoring on the platform. So for anyone who's not aware, Credora is also managing a pool on Maple on Solana, but the product that is offered there is real-time monitoring of the exchange positions of some of the market makers. So it will look at the balance that a borrower might have on FTX, across Binance, across Coinbase, and so it will give the delegate a view of how market neutral that borrower is, as well as the impact to their balance sheet of any moves in the price of larger coins. So if market goes down 1%, what does that mean for the equity position of that borrower? So tremendously useful, as you can imagine, for a delegate who wants to know what's going on in real time. So they've done one tranche, 40 million, very happy with that result. And they will have a new tranche expected to come out in the next few days. Well done, Maven team. So with that, let's go on to the Nexus deposit. Now, this was the largest ever DAO participation on Maple since we launched. So the Nexus Mutual DAO voted to deposit 29 million in ETH into the Maven pool, and this was a long time in the making. So we've had a close relationship with the Nexus team, as well as with Enzyme, who helped facilitate this through their infrastructure. So huge hats off to Enzyme for helping to facilitate that and make it happen, as well as the Chainlink team. And what this deposit was wrapped ETH into the wrapped ETH pool managed by Maven, and then it has gone out to fund loans, again, to high-quality market makers who are using this to provide liquidity on centralized and decentralized exchanges. So hopefully this marks the beginning of a higher level of DAO participation on the platform, and we're very happy to see this partnership blossom with the Nexus DAO. And turning to Credora, who I already mentioned before, but they have been managing a pool on the Maple Solana platform. They've performed flawlessly throughout the last few months. So they grew that pool from 0, so standing start, up to 84 million in loans originated over the last 3 months. And they continue to perform very well, generating 9 to 12% yields for the underlying lenders in that pool. And we've seen participation from a mix of institutions, funds, as well as a couple of DAOs from the Solana ecosystem participating. Credora, of course, is aided by real-time risk monitoring through the product they've developed, which looks at the balances of traders across different exchanges, and of course means that they're able to actively manage those positions. So very happy with the partnership with the Credora team, and looking forward to seeing that pool cross, say, 100 million in loans originated, hopefully over the next month.
Me too, and I'm also waiting for my Credora t-shirt, which I think is lost in the post from the rebrand, but that's eagerly anticipated mail that I'm waiting for.
When merch.
When merch, yeah. But it's just brilliant working with all of these, all of the pool delegates so closely. And I know that the Maven team are right now out for dinner celebrating that they're back to lending this month and that new pool launch. So yeah, amazing stuff seeing it go out, but also great being able to work so closely with these teams. that brings us to the end of our presentation, guys. So not many questions in the chat, so if you've got any, do drop them in. I'll keep this slide up here to prompt you with some questions now. But I think overwhelmingly there that you can hear that Maple is functioning as it should, and we're back to lending. We're remaining focused and just really excited about getting back out into the conference circuit this month and powering through to the end of the year. And yes, another question. All right, let's get into it. So let's focus first on any time frame on new exchange listings. So this is interesting. We actually don't really get the heads up when we get listed on new exchanges. It's not necessarily something that we proactively go out and seek. I know at the beginning of the year, getting listed on Coinbase just happened overnight, and we were like, oh, okay, this is big news, and had to sort of rally around it and tell people about it. Sid, Joe, do you have any more guides on exchanges?
No, you're quite right, Charlotte. So we don't have any active involvement in exchange listings. That's always the decision of an exchange, and it's typically a surprise to us. Yeah. That's unfortunately all the story there. I see the Maker Maple update. Interestingly, this morning I was actually listening to the latest Empire podcast, which had a couple of people from the Maker community talking about their growth strategy. So we would of course welcome any opportunity to partner and work with Maker. It seems like at the moment they're a little bit in flux with how their strategy is evolving and whether they want to be lending more to real world assets or corporate, I should say, into the corporate lending space. We'd definitely be open to any partnerships there, but I think for the time being, it's kind of on pause and dependent on how they decide to shape their growth strategy. So I did see recently they did a loan to a traditional banking institution, so it's exciting to see their expand. And yeah, I suppose watch that space. And I see one more question around an orthogonal Q&A. So this is actually very timely. So Orthogonal is going to be with us in New York in September at the booth. So they will be talking about their credit underwriting strategy. I believe they call it the orthogonal credit risk framework. And what we'll also do is tee up a call where they can do a live Q&A session and talk through how they evaluate borrowers. I know they recently completed a revamp of that credit risk framework and updated the scoring methodology. So very excited for them to be able to share that. And they've also brought on 2 new people full time to assist with growing their lending operations. So it's exciting that Orthogonal began as a multi-strategy trading firm, and with the success of their pools and participation on Maple, they're now staffing out that full-time lending team. And so we're welcoming 2 people from TradFi who'll be doing full-time BD and expanding the underwriting team there. So that's super exciting. We'll be excited to make those announcements once they can publicly say who they're going to be.
Yeah, exactly. And if you haven't already, follow them on Twitter to stay up to date. It's actually really good feedback in that you're asking about more virtual events. I think the feedback that we've received is that the Maven call was really informative to do that deep dive of what goes on under the hood. So that they were valuable. We'll absolutely be doing those for all of the pool delegates as and when the time's right, but specifically for Ortho, because they've got a lot of new work to share and lots of new team members to introduce. So we'll get that planned in and let you know when that's going ahead. A couple of questions in here, Sid, or Joe, maybe Joe, about Syrup and when the token will launch, and Syrup distribution when launched, if you want to cover those off.
Yeah, sure. So there's no immediate plans to launch the token publicly. We would potentially look at minting it in the nearer term, like on this side of year end, but don't see any real need at this time for the public launch of the Syrup token. When we do go out with that, that's when we would disclose how we're thinking about the distribution of it, and whether we enable existing NPL holders to participate, parties that have lent into the Solana side of the ecosystem having access to the Syrup token. But as we're winding down our mining rewards or liquidity mining program to effectively nil on the Ethereum side, there's no need for us to try and incentivize further lending on the Solana side of the business with the Syrup token. But we'll come out with more updates, probably I'd say in early Q4 around our roadmap with Syrup.
Nice, thank you, Jay. A few more questions coming in. I'll chuck this one over to you, Sid. How does the team think about the price of the NPL token? Good question.
We do not think about the price of the NPL token and provide no guidance on that. So, nice question. I think anyone who wants to discuss that can go to the price channel in the Discord.
Yeah. And
Catherine's
always popping up at these moments in time. May I throw another one to you, Sid? Why are some of the larger borrowers repaying early, especially if there's high demand to borrow? Especially as rates struck 6 or 12 months ago. And that's a question from VJ.
Yeah, that is a good question, actually. So we saw a minority of borrowers elect to repay early. So in some cases, it's sort of a matter of days. I think a couple of them chose to do it maybe a week or two early. These borrowers, the ones who might do that, typically it's going to be when they're larger in size and they might have several different opportunities. So some of the larger borrowers like Amber will have a diversity of funding sources that extend from under-collateralized and over-collateralized loans to a margin provided on exchange. So it always depends on their choice of kind of what maturity they're trying to go towards. So some of them might find that the better option for some of their activities would be margin that is provided on exchange versus taking out under-collateralized loans. But what we've seen is kind of broadly appetite to borrow has kind of stabilized at the moment. I think the lack of volatility at the moment has meant some of the opportunities to deploy that capital are a little bit subdued. But this is also being tempered by the fact there's been the exit of a lot of people who were previously providing lending facilities to these borrowers. So we're seeing the two effects kind of stabilize and balance each other out at the moment.
All right, and then the final question. Do you want to take it, Sid? Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. What are the biggest challenges in getting non-crypto focused companies to borrow from the pools? In my view, it's the rails to provide them with fiat. So one of the things we're looking at is how do we integrate and have on and off ramps so that a non-crypto focused company could borrow ostensibly in USDC and then be able to convert that and off ramp it into USD so they could use it for paying vendors, suppliers, or employees. So I think that continues to be one of the biggest challenges for companies operating in the crypto space like us to break out and serve a wider set of corporate clients. And it's the easiest way too for us to make the apples to apples comparison, which we all believe stacks up in favor of DeFi rails as a form of distribution for financial products. The best way for us to be able to compare is for a borrower who might alternatively take out a loan from the TradFi system to be able to see just how much better the user experience is of taking it out on Maple, as well as the just the ease of dealing with it as a financial product.
Nice. Okay, and then a final question just came in from Pep. Will the new master loan agreement be available to retail lenders? I think that's a no, but Sid, you can provide context around that.
Oh, I can take it, sorry.
Great. I was on mute. I was just going to say, No, typically we haven't made that available except to larger potential lenders, and it's just because we don't want to see that being just replicated by every new lending platform that comes out, in which we sometimes do receive requests from them to provide the work product. We're open to I do recognize though that some lenders will want to understand the kind of protections that are in place, and so we're happy to provide dot points around the types of covenants or protections in those lending agreements, so that people can understand the way that risk is mitigated and managed on the platform. We just wouldn't provide direct access to that document though.
Exactly, and for further context, our GC Catherine is in the chat providing some more colour around that. But all good questions, and definitely some dot points, and sharing those is a good shout, Sid. Final question, because they keep coming in just before we're about to wrap up, but any potential partners for on and off ramps for non-crypto focused companies? I know there's lots of pending conversations and we've got a couple of people in place, but Joe, you're way closer to it. So why don't you take that one and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, nothing to share in particular other than to say we're talking to anyone and everyone who advertises that they do on and off ramps. It is a difficult realm, and the hardest part is not actually the fiat conversion. That's a problem that's been solved, the actual conversion from fiat into crypto and back. The hard part is these platforms then interacting with smart contracts. And so that's the part that we're plugging the gap on, and whether that's something we have to help with the build it ourselves, then we would be we're looking at all of those types of solutions, and definitely open to anyone providing any solutions that they think could work. If they know of any platforms or protocols or businesses that are trying to solve this problem, then please reach out.
Yeah, that would be great. We can add it to the long list. But to Sid's point earlier, this is one of the bigger catalysts for getting capital in and out of platforms. So do share those if you've got any recos. That's it for today. If you've got any further questions, obviously you can chat us wherever you choose. We're all available. And let us know if you're going to be in New York during DAS, Mazari, or indeed in Singapore, and we can try and catch up with you then. But in the meantime, I guess stay well, and we'll speak to you again soon. So thanks for joining, guys.
Thanks, guys.